Good morning, class 10. How are you all doing? I hope you guys are doing great and you're taking care of yourselves. At the same time, you have been working hard and studying and doing everything. So that's really great. And so we hope to see you soon, and you keep studying and also have all activities at home. You have to make sure that you are fit and fine, you're eating well, you're sleeping well. You have to sleep well also and take care of yourselves, which is much more important as far as my point of view is. You have to have everything in system. You have to go by the system and do that. So I would request you all to be good and take care of yourselves as much as possible. So it will be very good. So we were there at Mandela, Nelson Mandela. We were doing in English. So today I'm going to try and just give you a few more information about that, and we'll finish the chapter. So I'll first read, and after that I'll explain. Then I want to tell you something about the the arrest and Rivonia trial, and the Robben Island, the Portsmouth prison, actually what happened, and what was the end of apartheid, and what all took place. But before I read, I want to just tell you the imprisonment which started of the arrest and Rivonia trial in 1962 and 1964. Just learning the chapter won't be doing the question answers at the back of it won't help you. You have to know also actually what happened. On 5th August 1962, the police captured Mandela along with few of his fellow activists, Cecil Williams and Howick. They thought that someone had tipped off the authorities that Mandela is going about, where he is, and all that happened. So, and although Mandela himself gave these little ideas very little credence. Now, Donald Rickard, a member of the Foreign American Diplomat, he revealed that the Central Intelligence Agency, who feared Mandela's association with the communists, had informed the South African Police Office location. Jailed in Johannesburg Marshall Square prison, Mandela was charged with inciting worker strikes and leaving the country without permission. Representing himself with Solvo, a legal advisor, Mandela intended to use the trial to showcase the ANC's moral opposition to racism. While supporters demonstrated outside the court, moved to Pretoria, where Winnie could visit him. He began correspondence to study as a Bachelor of Law. This I have told you. Now, on July 11th, 1963, police raided Lily's Leaf Farm, arresting those who were found and uncovering paperwork documents of the MK's activities, some of which were mentioned Mandela. The Rivonia trial began at Pretoria Supreme Court in October, with Mandela and his comrades charged with 4 counts of sabotage and conspiracy to violently overthrow the government. The chief prosecutor was Percy Yutar. Judge Quartus Devitt soon threw out the prosecution case for insufficient evidence. But Yutar reformulated the charges, presenting the new case from December 1963 until February 1964, calling 173 witnesses and bringing thousands of documents and photographs to the trial. This is what actually happened. People were at the back of him. They didn't want that change. I don't know why, but they were all against it. If the change comes down, the blacks will get a chance. That's what they thought generally. Anyways, so they put a new case on him to put him into jail. Fine, he agreed to it, no problem. He was put, another new cases were given to him. Although 4 of the accused denied involvement with the MK, Mandela and the other 5 accused admitted sabotage but denied that they had ever seen the initiate guerrilla war against the government. They used the trial to highlight their political cause. At the opening of history will absolve me. He gave us speech also that I am prepared to die. The trial gained international attention. There were global calls from release of the accused. From the United Nations, World Peace Council and the University of London Union voted Mandela to its presidency. On 12 June 1964, Justice David found Mandela and 2 of his co-accused guilty on all 4 charges. Although the prosecution had called for the death sentence to be applied, the judge instead condemned them to life imprisonment. In 1964, Mandela and his co-accused were transferred to Pretoria from Pretoria to the prison on Robben Island. Remaining there for the next 18 years, isolated from non-political prisoners in Section B, Mandela was imprisoned in a damp concrete cell measuring 8 feet by 7 feet. Can you imagine? With a straw mat on which to sleep. Verbally and physically harassed by several white prison wardens, the Rivonia trial prisoners spent their days breaking rocks into gravel until being reassigned in January 1965 to work in a lime quarry. Mandela was initially forbidden to wear sunglasses, and the glare from the lime permanently damaged his eyesight. At night, he worked on his LLB degree, which he was obtaining from the University of London through a correspondence course with Wolsey Hall, Oxford. But newspapers were forbidden, and he was locked in solitary confinement on several occasions for the possession of smuggled news clippings. He was initially classified as the lowest grade of prisoner, class D, meaning that he was permitted 1 visit and 1 letter every 6 months, although all mail was heavily censored. In foreign jails, you will go to a solitary confinement if you make any mistakes, or if they are really wanting to harass you. Solitary confinement is they'll put you into a cell in darkness, there will be no light, only food. If it comes, otherwise you won't hear any noise. You won't know if it is day or night. Which day it is also you will not know. You will go mad. And he had been put into that because he had newspaper. Newspaper that also forbidden to him. Can you imagine how he had been through? It is not just his walk, it is a long walk to the freedom. And his mails, he was class D grade. They made him the lowest prisoner grade. He was permitted only 1 visit in 6 months. 1 person can come and visit him, and although all mail was heavily and only 1 letter, that too it was checked. God knows if they had made him let him meet or not. The political prisoners took part in work and hunger strikes. The latter considered largely ineffective by Mandela to improve prison conditions. He could not change the prison conditions. Viewing this as a microcosm of the anti-apartheid struggle, ANC prisoners elected him to their 4-man high organ along with Sisulu, Govan Beki and Raymond Laba. Now they involved themselves in a group representing all political prisoners, including Eddie Daniels on the island, Ulundi, through which he forged links with the PSE and Yu Chi Chan club members, initiating that University of Robben Island whereby prisoners lectured on their own areas of expertise. He debated social political topics with his comrades. High grade people. Though attending his Sunday services, Christian, Mandela studied Islam. He also studied Africans, hoping to build a mutual respect with the warders and convert them to his cause. Various officials, visitors met with Mandela, most significantly the Liberal parliamentary representative, Helles Suzman of the Progressive Party, met with him. These are the things which happened during that time. It's a long story. It will take a long time. He's gone through a lot to get this freedom. That's why he said, I was not born with a hunger to be free. I was born free. Free in every way that I could know, free to run in the fields near my brother's hut, free to swim in the clear stream that ran through my village, free to roast mealies under the stars and ride the broad backs of the slow moving bulls. That's why he said. It was this desire for the freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self-respect that animated my life, that transformed a frightening young man into a bold one, that drove a law-abiding attorney to become a criminal, that turned a family-loving husband into a man without a home, that forced a life-loving man to live like a monk. I am no more virtuous or self-sacrificing than the next man. But I found that I could not even enjoy the poor and limited freedoms I was allowed when I knew my people were not free. Freedom is indivisible. The chains of any one of my people were the chains on all of them. The chains on all of my people were the chains on me. I knew that the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. A man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. He is locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow-mindedness. I am not truly free if I am taking away someone else's freedom, just as surely as I am not free when my freedom is taken from me. The oppressed and the oppressor are robbed of their humanity. This is all about the chapter, and we'll do this, and the question answers, please do it yourself. Try to do it. Whatever I can, I will post it with notes onto your website and you can see it there. Okay, then we have a poem written by Leslie Norris, and that is The Tiger in the Zoo. I'll come back in the next video and I'll tell you that.